Alright, let's continue this Retro Wednesday streak of the films in the Universal 100th Anniversary Collector's set on Blu-ray, and hopefully I can get through all these movies before the year ends. And let's resume with The Breakfast Club from 1985, directed by John Hughes. This movie is basically a bottle movie. It consists of 5 high school students who are brought to school on a Saturday because they're serving detention all day. And we have the jock, the brains, the criminal, the princess, and the basket case. 5 people that have no business at all being together or hanging out together. And yet the movie is simply them kind of arguing with each other, and eventually they get along and reveal that deep down inside they aren't the stereotypes that they're usually painted to be. Now, John Hughes is that director that is mainly prominent during the 80s. He was one of the most influential directors at the time for youths, mainly with movies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, 16 Candles, and The Breakfast Club. Now, I didn't grow up with him because I was born in 91, making me a kid of the 90s, but I would think that being a kid of the 90s wouldn't take away my enjoyment of these movies. And as for The Breakfast Club, that is definitely true. Even though it technically is a very 80s movie. The soundtrack is very 80s, the clothing style is very 80s, the fact that the nerd is unpopular and doesn't get the girl at the end is very 80s, but it's still enjoyable nonetheless. It's very much a dramedy in the sense that there are a lot of funny moments there, a lot of character humor, but near the end, when they really sit around discovering themselves and really get to know each other beyond their stereotypes, it really is kind of a drama. And that's probably one of the best things about this movie is, in a lot of high school movies, we're so accustomed to each character being a certain stereotype, like the jock, the bully, nerd, and so on. And this movie really kind of delves into the fact that if you look past the stereotype of that person, they're a lot more complex than they appear. Again, the whole don't judge a book by its cover scenario. And speaking of that soundtrack, it's a very catchy one, I might say. I don't really remember all the songs, and again, even though I was born in the 90s, it is a very memorable soundtrack, kind of in the vein of how memorable the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack is, where it's that thing that is just as memorable as the movie it came from. The characters are really believable too, and all the actors like Judd Nelson and Molly Ringwald do a really good job in their roles, and they sell you on the fact that these are real kids, and that also goes with John Hughes directing and writing. So, not much to say about this movie, but it's a really good sort of coming-of-age movie. And even though there are points where it is outdated, mainly in the soundtrack, it is still a good movie that there's a reason why a lot of people talk about it, and along with the rest of the movies that John Hughes has made. So, this movie is definitely worth seeing in your lifetime. And especially if you're a high school student, if you feel like you're separated in a specific group in high school, I think watching this movie will make you look beyond that and like, yeah, this guy might be a nerd, but hey, whatever. And that's my review for The Breakfast Club. Leave a comment, tell me what you thought of the movie, subscribe to my channel for more stuff in the future. Check out my video blog channel, AlexG8462. You can find links to my Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, and Instagram accounts on this YouTube page. Go check me out at letterboxd.com under the name Mr. Robinson, as well as my written reviews on geekedoutnation.com. Share me with your friends and tell them about me, and this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one. I'll see you guys later.